Welcome to this eLearn security video training lesson on cross-site request forgery. In this video, we are going to see how to find and exploit a cross-site request forgery vulnerability in order to force our victim to purchase items on the target web application. First, let us open the target web application at the following address and inspect it. This is a very simple e-commerce web application. It works similarly to other e-commerce web apps. We just have to select the items we want to purchase and add them to the cart. So let's add a few other items in our cart and continue investigating the app. So now, we have a few items in the cart, but we cannot purchase them until we log into the web app. We already have an account on the website, so let us click on the Login button and type our username and password. Now we are successfully authenticated on the web app, and we are redirected to the account page where we can see our data and info. Here, for example, we can see the total amount of money we have on our account. So right now, we have $453 in our account. Since we are interested in the purchasing process, let us go back into the checkout page and see if we can continue. Now that we are authenticated, we can finalize our purchase by clicking on the Checkout button here. Before clicking on it, let us start Burp Suite in order to understand what happens when we click there. So let us go into Application, Kali Linux, Top 10, and select Burp Suite. Let us check the proxy configuration and then edit our browser proxy accordingly. The proxy is listening on our local host address on port 8080, so let's go back in the browser and edit the proxy configuration. Now, Burp should be able to intercept all the requests. We're good to go. So let us click on Checkout. Great! Burp has intercepted the request. Let us inspect it. As we can see here, it seems that the web application is sending a request on the page finalize_checkout.php with few parameters. As we can see, there's some URL encoding here. So let us select the first row and send it to the decoder. Now, let us decode it by selecting URL from the drop-down menu on the right. So now we know exactly what parameters and values the application sends. From what we see, we can guess that the item list parameter contains the ID of the item selected, while the item quantity contains the quantity for each item selected. We're not going to change these values. Instead, let us go back into the Intercept tab and forward the request in order to see what happens. Note that right now, it seems that the application does not implement any countermeasure or protection mechanism against cross-site request forgery. Indeed here, there isn't any token in the request. So let us now forward the request and see what happens. Let us follow the redirection by forwarding this request too. The next request is to the thankyou.php page, with the status parameter set to 1. Let us forward this too and disable the interception option. If we go back into our browser, we can see that the purchase process is done. Indeed, if we open our account details, we can see that the total amount is decreased. From $453, we now have $297. From what we have seen, it seems that there is not an anti-XSRF mechanism in place on the application, and that the page finalize_checkout is vulnerable to cross-site request forgery. Let us then suppose we want to force our victim to purchase something by just clicking on our crafted link. To do this, we will lure the victim to click on a link via an email. So let us open our Gmail account and write the email. We've already created it, so let us just inspect the link in the email. If the user is logged on the web application and clicks on the link, we will force the victim to purchase the 3 items with the ID 2. So let us send this email and switch on the victim machine. As we can see, the victim is already logged on the web application, and the user amount is $345. Moreover, if we open the checkout page, we can see that the user has no items in the cart. Let us now see what happens if we open the email received and click on the link. Here's the email. Let's open it and click on the link. As we can see, by simply clicking on the link, we've successfully forced the victim to purchase the goods. Indeed, if we go back into the account page and reload it, we can see that the amount is now $217. That's because the user purchased 3 items for $42 each, plus $2 for the tax. As you've seen, this is not very stealthy. Indeed, once the user clicks on the link, he is redirected to the thank you page and he or she will realize that something's wrong. What we can do then is lure the victim to open another website that we own and silently force the web browser to issue the request. Let us suppose we own the website at the following address, attacker.site, and that we managed to lure the victim to open it. It seems like a nice website, nothing more. But if we go back in the e-commerce web application and open the account page, we can see that our balance is decreased once again. What happened? Let us go back in the attacker webpage and inspect the source code. Here we can see a simple script tag. If we inspect the code within the tag, we can see that the page is asking the browser victim to issue the following request, and then purchase the items without even prompting a message to the final user. As we've seen in this video, cross-site request forgery is a very dangerous vulnerability that allows malicious users to perform an action on the victim's behalf. And this concludes our video training lesson on cross-site request forgery. Thanks very much for joining us.